And now, a belated episode of Donny Boast Friday Football Flash with your host, Donny Boast.
Ladies and gentlemen, we missed the Friday cutoff by about an hour Pacific Standard Time, but nonetheless, we are still here to report to you. And what is there that is left to be said, if anything, here in the NFL in a week I've lost count. My God, the season, it won't stop. And here we are again, everybody. The Oakland Raiders went into Kansas City and lost. It was a very anticipated football game on all fronts. There was a lot riding on the football game. It was an old classic battle between two classic AFC West rivals. And the Oakland Raiders walked into Arrowhead Stadium and took a big fat dump all over the field. That's exactly what happened, folks. There's nothing else to be said. There's no way to sugarcoat it. The Oakland Raiders, for all their triumph, for all their greatness this season and everything that was and could still be possible, went into Arrowhead and fought it all over the field. It was disgusting. It was terrible. It was an ugly, ugly game for the Raiders. Meanwhile, the Chiefs won. It was not as a convincing win as their win in Oakland, but nonetheless, it was a victory for the Chiefs, and they are legitimate only because they've beaten the Raiders. The rest of the AFC is still ripe for the picking, and you can't fault the Steelers or the Ravens for still being in the mix. They're two great franchises, they're two great teams, and they've got two great quarterbacks. And when I say great, these are men who have won championships, and in the all-school annals of time in the NFL, when it comes time to put on that yellow jacket, I do believe Joe Flacco will be in that mix. Maybe not a first ballot, maybe not a second, but at some point, Joe Flacco, if he continues to win football games the way he has and maintain his post as a starting quarterback for the Baltimore Ravens, he could be something. And the only reason I digress on this point is because it is a rarity. And I also bring it up because I believe the Steelers and the Ravens are poised to beat Kansas City in the playoffs, which is exactly, if the matchups fall the way I think they might will, I think that's what's going to happen. I think the Chiefs are good, but I don't think they're as good as everybody thinks they might be. I think their defense is brittle, but I do think it is potent. I think their offense lacks the certain kind of luster that you would need to win games in the playoffs. They don't seem to have a running game at all, and on offense, I can't remember the last time the Chiefs had a wide receiver aside from Dwayne Bowe and J.J. Burden. That's saying a lot. The rest of the AFC West, if it's even worth bringing it up, just rounds out to the Denver Broncos, who might play spoiler here in the late going, as they do have to face the Chiefs again. Nonetheless, the Chargers aren't going to be much of a threat to anyone, but they do get the Chiefs at home to wrap up the season, and they will have nothing to play for except for now officially, possibly, could be, you never know until they do, moving to Los Angeles. In the NFC side of things, there's not much left to be said. The Dallas Cowboys are still the best team. The Seattle Seahawks don't mind being the second best team. And aside from them, there's really nothing else to sort out the pack. And speaking of the pack, to say it again, here we go. The NFC North sucks. The NFC South sucks. And everything else in between is split up between the two aforementioned teams. There's nothing else to write about in the NFC. You're not going to see a lot of upsets in the playoffs because the best teams are the best teams. And unlike the AFC, the NFC is going to be pretty cut and dry and come down to the Seattle Seahawks going into Dallas to try to win it all to get to another Super Bowl. And when we get to that game, we'll call it, but I want you to know that that's exactly what's going to happen at the end of the season at this point. As far as next week's games go, there's not much really to be said, as we've said all season. It's the same story over and over again. Crappy teams going against other crappy teams, either at home or away, with bad quarterbacks and failed dreams. And in that discussion, we're going to talk about two teams that are very similar. The Arizona Cardinals at the Miami Dolphins. The Miami Dolphins are not good. And anybody who says they are is dreaming the impossible dream. And anyone who understands that might have looked at the Vegas line where they are underdogs at home against Arizona. But here's the kicker. Miami is good enough and prideful enough to be able to beat an Arizona team at home in Miami. That is value there, folks. It's 2.5. Miami getting points. You've got to take it. It's a money line all the way. The reason why Arizona isn't good is because their key positions and key talent is old. They are ancient. They need to get younger. They need to get better. Bruce Arians is a good coach, and they have a decent thing going on out there in Arizona. They haven't really won anything yet. Pardon me. They haven't really won anything yet. Yes, let's not sound like a complete degenerate here. Pardon me. Frank, how you doing out there?
I'm doing great there, Donny.
That's what I like to hear. Anyway, that's a good game to look at between two teams that are going in similar directions and different patterns. It's a good way to analyze the league, if you will. Washington against Philadelphia, on the other hand, that's even stupider. Because I don't know who's doing what with who. I think you got to take Washington because they're on fire. Minnesota at Jacksonville. Jacksonville's getting 3 points against Minnesota. This is going to be their big moment game. They're going to beat Minnesota at home. That's a value money line. Denver at Tennessee. Tennessee getting 1.5. I like Denver in this game. I don't think Tennessee's good enough to compete with Denver, and that's the punchline to that matchup. Pittsburgh at Buffalo. Buffalo getting 3 points. Take the under in that game. It's 45.5. San Diego at Carolina. Carolina -1, over under 49. I don't know what else to say except watch this game only if you're bored. Cincinnati at Cleveland, the game of the week. Oh my God, the battle of the states. Cleveland +5.5. Take them. I think they're going to win. Why? Because I have no reason not to. The spread should be a lot higher than that. This is a stupid game. Stay away from it. Don't listen to anything I say. Here comes Houston at Indianapolis. Another laugher. Another ugly battle. Another pointless game that doesn't mean anything. Chicago at Detroit, just the same. Detroit 7.5. That's how bad Chicago is. The New York Football Jets at the Santa Clara Yorks. The Yorks are getting 3 points. Take the Jets. Make it your afternoon money line extravaganza. The Yorks are not only going to lose at home, but Chip Jelly at the end of the game is going to be eating a sandwich on the sideline, and it's going to be a call for him to leave town. Atlanta at Los Angeles. There's still football to be played between these two teams. There's nothing else to say, folks. Good night!